Welcome to Soul Mastery for the soul-led entrepreneur who desires it all: purpose, power, and profit. I'm your host, Jay Valley Desai, business and success mentor, utilizing the neuroscience of business to help entrepreneurs increase their impact while increasing their income. And today, I am so excited to have a very special guest on with me. She's a fellow colleague, fellow badass, and all things human design expert. And her topic, one of her specialities is human design and fashion. That's right. Have you ever thought about connecting those two? I hadn't until she brought this up. Today's guest is none other than Abigail Rebecca, human design, leadership guide, high performance visibility coach, stylist, and international speaker. Hello. I am so excited to have you on, Abigail.
Hi, Shitali. I'm so excited. And you know what I loved about that intro at the top end of the podcast? I love to see all your gorgeous outfits. I'm like, oh, it's so gorgeous. Look at that outfit. Look at that outfit. So yeah, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today.
I'm really wanting to dive in, but I need to hold up for a second, because while I did introduce you, it is so much more dynamic for my audience to hear who you are from you. So let's dive into that first, and then we'll move into our topic. So let us know a little bit about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So as I said, as you rightly said, I'm a human design leadership guide. I'm a high performance visibility coach. I'm a stylist. My background is styling. Well, my background is corporate, but when I left corporate 7 years ago and started my business, I retrained to be a personal stylist at the London College of Fashion. And I'm also an international speaker. I love to speak on stages. And what I'm really good at, what I've come to recognize about myself, is that my zone of genius is really helping to empower women to feel really good about themselves, to be highly visible, to really be able to create that iconic presence and impact within their business and their lives. I have over 28 years of experience of coaching and mentoring men and women, actually, at a very high level in corporate. I've worked with some incredible international brands throughout my career. I've worked with TUI, Disney, Royal Caribbean, Landmark, Soho House. And I really, really love, as I said before, I love to help founders and CEOs and other creative change makers really embody their unique human design so they can stand out in their visible leadership and create incredible success with ease.
Oh, there is so much to dive into there. First of all, what did you do in corporate?
I had many, many roles in corporate.
Okay.
So I used to manage, so I worked in the travel industry. So I used to manage big airports. I used to manage airport operations. I used to manage crew and pilots. My biggest team were, I think at one point I was managing just over 100 crew. And I also used to head up a big training and development department within the organization that I worked in. And my team of training managers were responsible for the leadership and the development of all the senior leaders within the business. One of the things that I used to be brought in for a lot in corporate was managing change. So I used to be brought in to either close departments, very sadly, or start departments from scratch. And that's what they wanted me to do. But actually, one of the things that I really realized about myself and what I really loved is I love to help my team to be promoted. I used to go into teams and there'd be people within those teams that had been passed over for promotion, like 5, 10, 15 years. And these were really incredible, valuable leaders that just weren't getting an opportunity. So it's almost like I made it my purpose and my mission when I worked in corporate to get them promoted. And it didn't help me because I was losing incredible team members. But I used to help them to be more visible within the business because it wasn't anything that there was nothing wrong with them. The skill set was there. They just weren't being seen and they weren't being recognized. And I used to help them become more visible so they would be seen and recognized. And then they get incredible promotions.
So I know what your human design energy type is, but I would love for you to share. What is your background in what is your human design energy type?
So I am a 4/6 emotional energetic projector. My environment is kitchens.
Oh,
And I found out that I was a projector. Well, I found out about human design about 7 years ago. I was at a business conference with one of my coaches, actually, in Palm Springs in the States. And someone introduced me to human design, and I just thought it was wonderful. I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And then I got distracted by the next shiny object syndrome, shiny object and the next shiny object. And I never kind of really dove into it, but it kept coming up for me again and again. And I really started to deep dive into it probably about 6 years ago, and then started to incorporate it into my business 5 years ago. And I was in absolute denial about being a projector. I was like, I'm not a projector, I'm a manifestor.
That's interesting, because hearing your story in corporate, it seemed like you had tapped into your projector energy.
I had.
Oh, okay. So you were unconsciously doing it, but consciously saying, no, this isn't mine.
Yes. And this was interesting because the roles that I was that were pointed out for me, that were chosen for me by corporate, what corporate wanted me to do was real manifestor stuff.
Okay.
I was like going in and creating change and leading movements and getting the ball rolling on things. But actually what I really loved to do was the projector stuff. So I, like you said, I knew at an unconscious level at the time that I was a projector. Yeah. But I refused to believe that. I was like, no, I'm a manifestor. Like I'm a dynamic leader and I go out and get things done. And so it's been really interesting. But I think part of that also is because I am an energy projector. So even though my sacral isn't defined, my solar plexus and my root is defined. So there are times where I still really have to step back from my deep conditioning to be a manifestor.
Oh yeah. I can only imagine, because you, as a high achiever, we're always going like manifestors, regardless of your design type, right? And what's interesting here is with projectors, you get to, in order to leverage your energy, pull back. Like, let's lean back. We all hear that in social circles. That, I would imagine, is one of the biggest deconditioning aspects of realizing you're a projector or a non-energy type, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I work with a lot of projectors and we all have the same experiences. I used to beat myself up. I used to think I was lazy.
Yeah.
Because I wanted 100%. To sleep in the afternoon. I remember going to the Google. I went to do some training with Google, or training for Google, when I still worked in corporate. I was doing some consultancy for them, and I went in and I was like, oh my goodness, they've got sleep pods. Like, I was like, I need to work in this place. It's the most, because every afternoon in corporate, I'd want to curl up underneath my desk and go to sleep. And I thought I was lazy. And actually now I know, when people ask me what my hobby is, like, what are your hobbies? I'm like, sleeping. I love to sleep and I love to have a little nap in the afternoon. And I know that when I do that, it really it empowers me, it brings my energy, and it means that I can bring my A game to anything that I'm doing throughout the day. So, but it takes a while to actually understand that work is rest.
Yes, especially in this like hustle culture. Like, there's a difference between hustle and sacred hustle. Sacred hustle is kind of what I imagine the path you put yourself on, by acknowledging the fact that we need that time to disconnect completely. In the case of either taking a nap, you could be meditating, but you're not in anybody else's space, especially for those of us who work online. I think that that understanding is so, one, difficult, but two, extremely necessary. When you stepped out of corporate and you started to, okay, what am I going to do next? How did you end up in fashion?
Oh, it wasn't planned. I mean, I don't plan anything really. I'm about as strategic as, I don't know, what's a non-strategic thing? I knew that I wanted to leave corporate. I was kind of given a very big shock I developed a very serious heart condition. Several times I was rushed to A&E with a heartbeat of 220, and it should be about 70. I realized that I needed to slow down and reevaluate my life. But I really, as much as I wasn't particularly enchanted by corporate, I like the money, I like the status. And to be honest, it was an amazing company that I worked for. It's just, it wasn't the right fit for me, even though I'd worked with them for many years. So I realized that I wanted to leave, and I wanted to start my own business, but I didn't know what to do. And I remember going to see my boss and saying, I want to leave and I'd like you to pay me to leave. And she just burst out laughing and said, well, that's not going to happen. And then 1 month later, because I was manifesting this, 1 month later, the part of the business that I worked for, the bigger part of the business, decided to sell it off. So I became displaced. And as part of that negotiation, I got a nice payout. So I manifested a payout. And I knew that I wanted to do something really creative. And a friend of mine had recently got divorced and just felt so low about herself. And we were going to Ibiza together, and we both used to work in Ibiza in our 20s. We were like Ibiza girls in our 20s. You know what I mean? Like doing all the things in Ibiza.
I love it. Love it.
What was that again? Sorry.
No, I said I love it.
Oh, sorry. Yes. I just, you paused a little bit then. Maybe we want to pause that.
One, difficult, but two, extremely necessary. When you stepped out of corporate and you started to, okay, what am I going to do next? How did you end up in fashion?
Oh, it wasn't planned. I mean, I don't plan anything really. I'm about as strategic as, I don't know, what's a non-strategic thing? I knew that I wanted to leave corporate. I was kind of given a very big shock. I developed a very serious heart condition. Several times I was rushed to A&E with a heartbeat of 220, and it should be about 70. I realized that I needed to slow down and reevaluate my life. But I really, as much as I wasn't particularly enchanted by corporate, I like the money, I like the status. And to be honest, it was an amazing company that I worked for. It's just, it wasn't the right fit for me, even though I'd worked with them for many years. So I realized that I wanted to leave, and I wanted to start my own business, but I didn't know what to do. And I remember going to see my boss and saying, I want to leave and I'd like you to pay me to leave. And she just burst out laughing and said, well, that's not going to happen. And then 1 month later, because I was manifesting this, 1 month later, the part of the business that I worked for, the bigger part of the business, decided to sell it off. So I became displaced. And as part of that negotiation, I got a nice payout. So I manifested a payout. And I knew that I wanted to do something really creative. And a friend of mine had recently got divorced and just felt so low about herself. And we were going to Ibiza together, and we both used to work in Ibiza in our 20s. We were like Ibiza girls in our 20s. You know what I mean? Like doing all the things in Ibiza.
I love it. Love it.
What was that again? Sorry.
No, I said I love it.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
I
just, you paused a little bit then. Maybe we want to pause that. So she was like, I don't want to go back to this place that I have so many amazing memories of and feel like I do at the moment. I was like, well, come on, I'll style you. So I just created this amazing wardrobe for her, and we went, and she had a ball. It was just amazing. It was like transformational for her, the confidence. So she said to me, why don't you be a stylist? And I was like, okay, then. So I went to do my training at London College of Fashion. I set up my business. I was based in Knightsbridge, right slap bang opposite Harrods. And And then I discovered the online world, and then I actually brought it online. So my first online business was actually personal styling for entrepreneurs. I used to do a lot of things online.
That is, I love it, because talk about, it's walking in faith, that's like pure walking in faith right there, to say, okay, well, this is what I want, having the payout, then the payout come, then having the opportunity to use your creativity to get to your next path or to the next level of you. I know prior to recording, we were talking about this. Moments of transformation come in such a way that it requires you to open your eyes to a new possibility. In the moment, were you nervous, scared? How did it feel?
It felt liberating that I was finally stepping into something that I really desired to do, but I was so scared at the same time. And looking back at it now, I was traumatized. I mean, I had someone really incredible in my life that helped me, that guided me through that whole transitional process, because the whole of my identity was caught up in my corporate identity. I had become the person that they wanted me to be in corporate, and it wasn't me anymore. So I felt very disconnected with who I was, very inauthentic. And authenticity is one of my biggest values. So I really had to do a lot of deconditioning. And with that came such an incredible spiritual awakening. Things that I'd always thought about myself and been really scared about myself started to kind of bubble up into the surface. And instead of pushing it back, I started to embrace it. And it was just beautiful, really, in the end, but very scary at the time.
For female entrepreneurs who are listening, or females who are listening who have that entrepreneurial nudge, that feeling, that calling that they're just kind of ignoring right now because of this fear, what would be your greatest, or what would be a great first step to help them on their path?
I think really allowing themselves to be very open and honest about what they truly desire, and really allowing themselves to go there. You know, we're so conditioned to keep small and I mean, it's different as well, isn't it, culturally, all over the world. I mean, I work with a lot of women that are based in America, and it is a different mindset to the UK. But if I can give the UK as an example, there's a real culture in the UK, unfortunately, of don't get too big for your boots, don't get big ideas, who does she think she is, you know? And it's kind of like, it's almost like a bit cool to be a little bit down on yourself and down on others, where actually, you know, maybe it's time to kind of challenge those cultural ideas and ways of being, and stop feeling bad about wanting incredible things for yourself. Stop feeling bad about wanting freedom, about wanting money, about, you know, wanting luxury, whatever it is that you desire, and really allow yourself to go there. And I think once you start being really honest with yourself, and you start to accept that I'm the person that wants to live this life, then you can start to open yourself up to the universal miracles that will come your way if you desire it.
And as they walk this path, I feel like fashion is actually something that's such a easy thing to add, as something as simple as like earrings or like your headband, something that feels fun, that feeds their confidence. So let's dive into this, especially from this human design aspect, because to be frank, you're the first person I've heard who's combined human design with style. So I myself am like, what? So how did you make this connection?
Well, I've always been really interested in, I guess, the correct terminology would be like the psychology of fashion and the psychology of style. So when I went and did when I was trained to be a personal stylist, it was very much like you are trained to dress someone according to their skin tone, their eye color, their hair color, the shape of their body, the shape of their bones, and of course like their lifestyle and desire, but it's very much like a physical thing, right? So I can look at, so I'm trained to look at someone and go, oh, you're not wearing the right color, or you need to wear this fabric instead of that fabric, and you need to lower your hemline a little bit because it's not sitting right on your legs, right? So that's how you're designed to be as a personal stylist. But then when I started to learn more about human nature, human dynamics, the whole spiritual, holistic way of doing things, I started to see that there were more opportunities within styling, because I was like, well, actually, for me, like personal style, wearing clothes that light you up, is the ultimate expression of self-love. And it almost brings that childlike, playful aspect to life. You know, it's like going up into the dressing up box when you were a child and playing dress up, like, what am I going to wear today? Like, how do I want to feel today? And also, how do I want people to perceive me and receive me? So part of this work that I've been doing with my clients for over 7 years now around, you know, let's make you really iconic. Let's make you unforgettable. Do you want to walk into a room and all eyes to be on you? Do you want to walk onto a stage and for everyone to remember who you are? Like, how are we going to create that? So then we started to create their style according to how they wanted to show up. Who do you want to be in the world? How do you want people to perceive you? But most importantly, what kind of clients do you want to attract? Like, what's the whole message? So to incorporate their personal style as part of their messaging and part of their brand. And then when I started to incorporate human design into my business, I was like, well, each human design type has a strategy. So let's start to look at that strategy and see how we can start to encourage the environments that you're in to react to your strategy accordingly. So, for example, let's talk about generators, manifesting generators. You know, 70% of the population have this beautiful like aura that attracts things in. So the strategy for generators and manifesting generators is to respond to things. Well, you can actually start to encourage that in your environment, not by actually initiating or doing anything, just by being. And one of the ways that you can be is how you dress. So if you're going to go to a networking event, for example, and instead of walking into the room and straight away initiating the conversation, you want to be able to respond to things, how can you dress so that it makes it really easy for people to respond to you? So, you know, do you want to wear statement earrings? Do you want to wear a statement necklace? Do you want to wear a big statement ring like this? You know, you can go into a networking event and you can make it very easy for people to come up to you and go, oh, I love your necklace. Where did you get it from? And then as a generator, a manifesting generator, you can respond to it very, very easily. Or if we're talking about projectors, so I'm a projector, right? The struggle is real. We need to be invited. I'm like, how on earth am I going to run a business, like waiting around to be invited into things? And I realized very easily I can orchestrate that.
Yes.
I don't need to initiate it, but I can orchestrate it. How can I make it really, really easy for people to invite me into things? Well, part of that is being highly visible, because I need to be seen in order for people to invite me into things. But also whenever I'm out and about, I'm like, how can I look approachable? Because if people are going to invite me into things, they can't be intimidated by me. So how do I take myself off a pedestal so that I'm approachable? And I know that my presence and impact, sometimes I can feel like people are like, oh, what, you know, like, can I talk to her or not? So I wear a lot of color, because when people wear certain colors, you'll seem to be more approachable. I wear a lot of blue. Blue is a trustworthy color. So people look at me and they see me, I'm dressed colorfully, I'm dressing in blue. Oh, we can trust her, we can approach her. That's why wherever I go, people ask me directions everywhere. I'm always being asked for directions.
I
But
love the psychology of color here.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
So there's lots of different ways that you can dress in order to be able to create these beautiful opportunities for you to step into without having to initiate, if you're not a manifester.
Yeah.
And creating these opportunities so that you're aligned to your human design.
I think that's brilliant. So to wrap up the other two energy types, so a manifestor must have some kind of, in my opinion, some kind of really chic statement piece, like big, bold. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, a manifestor is designed to start movements.
Yeah.
Like, how do you become that person? How are you seen as that person that is going to lead a movement? Like, hey, I've got this amazing idea, who's coming on board? So yes, I mean, and of course it still comes down to skin tone and hair color and eye color and all of that, body shape, of course it does. But manifestors, their natural energy is to repel. They have to be able to repel in order to move forward in peace. So we're looking at colors like red. Red is very impactful. It can repel some people. It's the color of love, but it's also the color of blood. So it can repel some people and it attracts other people. So people are very reactionary to the color red. So actually, let's put a manifestor in red. Let's give her structure. Let's position her as that wonderful dynamic leader that people will follow. So that's the manifestor. And then the reflectors. Well, reflectors are these beautiful unicorns, 1% of the population. Reflectors actually reflect the rest of the population and move through this beautiful moon cycle, 28.5 days. So reflectors are actually going to be showing up as different people every day. So I love to really share with reflectors about how dynamic they can make their wardrobe. They can incorporate lots of different styles independent of where they are, because one day they might be kind of like reflecting back to a manifestor and really being in that energy, or they might be reflecting back to a projector and being in that energy. And also I don't know, whenever I think about reflectors, I always think about white. I always think about really like serene and beautiful white dresses and things like that. But again, it's really to look at as a reflector, how am I going to be able to be lit up by my environment, because environments are so important to them. They get their ideas, they are able to taste the environment to then eventually be able to make their decision. So it's really looking at their environments, where they're hanging out in those environments, and being able to kind of stand out as well, because again, reflectors can often are very invisible at times. People don't even notice them. So actually, how are you going to be able to stand out as a reflector so that people can notice you?
I love all these intro tips for those who are stepping into their human design and want to express it. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and what a beautiful methodology you've created. So I am so thankful that you shared all of that. For those of you who want to get more in touch with Abigail, which I know you do, where are we going to find you?
Best place to find me is my website, abigailrebecca.com. I've got loads of free stuff on there. You can download your human design. There's lots of ways that you can work with me. And I'm on social media as well at the Visibility Goddess. So I'd really love to connect with you on Instagram.
And guys, once you've heard this, tag us on social. Share with us what your greatest takeaway was, because this was such a dynamic conversation. And I know Abigail from different facets of life, and she has so much more to share. But these tips that she's given to help us stand in our power in the easiest way possible. Manifestors, you got red lipstick somewhere. Reflectors, whites and silvers. How can you just bedazzle yourself to stand out like a unicorn, as Abigail said? Projectors, please follow Abigail. She shares so much for the projector energy types. And generators, manifesting generators, what makes you feel sexy? Come on now. Abigail, thank you so much for coming on. And for those of you who know, Abigail is also part of the Women Thrive Summit coming up in March. be sure to join us. Grab your complimentary ticket, because if you think this conversation was dynamic, wait until all of the speakers share their wisdom. Before we hop off, Abigail, is there anything that you would like to share last minute, or any wisdom you want to drop?
Yeah, I think it's, human design doesn't put us into a box. Human design is the science of differentiation. So this is really about being your unique self, not trying to copy someone else, not trying to be someone else, not comparing yourself to someone else, really coming back to yourself, appreciating yourself, really loving yourself. And once we can do that, that's when we become iconic. That's when we can create anything that we want to create in this world. So I really, really encourage you to, in terms of your style, which we've been talking about today, really look at, like, what do I want to be known for? How do I want to make others feel? How do I want to feel? And, maybe if it's time for a little bit of a refresh in that department, then go ahead, like you said, go ahead and wear the red lipstick, go ahead and wear those shoes that you're just saving for a special occasion. Wear them and go grocery shopping, put on your best outfits and really show yourself and express your self-love in that way.
That is beautiful. To all of our guests today and listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Abigail, thank you for dropping beautiful wisdom. I thank you personally, and I know the collective is also grateful. For everyone listening, thank you again. I'm Jaitali Desai, and this is Soul Mastery. And like always, I'm wishing you a beautiful day. And remember, anything is possible once you decide.